The evening sky over the quiet seaside city carried a soft golden glow as hundreds of fans gathered outside the Grand Cultural Center. Cameras flashed endlessly, reporters whispered to one another, and excited voices filled the cool air. Everyone had come for one reason only: to witness what was being called the final public appearance of Baris Arduc and Elçin Sangu together. For years, the beloved duo had captured hearts across the world. Their unforgettable chemistry, warm friendship, and countless public moments had made fans believe in beautiful connections again. Whether on screen or during interviews, they always carried an energy that felt genuine and comforting. But tonight felt different. The atmosphere outside the building was emotional. Fans held handmade signs, flowers, and framed photographs from memorable moments throughout the actors' careers. Some people had traveled from different countries just to stand outside for a few hours, hoping to see them one last time together. Inside the cultural center, the grand hall shimmered beneath elegant lights. Every seat was occupied. The audience spoke quietly, almost nervously, waiting for the event to begin. Large screens displayed beautiful memories from Baris and Elçin's professional journey together. Award ceremonies, charity events, backstage smiles, and moments that fans had cherished for years. Backstage, Baris stood near a long hallway, adjusting the sleeves of his dark suit. His expression looked calm, but his eyes carried deep emotion. Nearby, Elçin quietly looked at the large stage curtain in front of her. She wore a graceful cream-colored dress that reflected the soft golden lighting around the room. For a few moments, neither of them spoke. Then Baris smiled gently. "It feels strange," he said quietly. Elçin nodded with a small smile of her own. "Very strange." They both knew this evening would remain unforgettable. Not only for fans but for themselves as well. A stage assistant approached carefully and informed them that the show would begin in less than 2 minutes. The hallway suddenly became quieter. The distant sound of the audience clapping echoed softly behind the curtains. Baris looked toward Elçin. "Ready?" She took a slow breath before answering. "Yes. Let's give them a beautiful memory." Moments later, the host walked onto the stage as the audience erupted into applause. The giant screen behind him displayed a glowing image of Baris and Elçin smiling together during one of their earliest appearances. Tonight, the host began warmly. "We celebrate two extraordinary artists whose work touched millions of hearts around the world." The applause became even louder. And while every journey eventually reaches a new chapter, memories remain forever. As the lights softened, Baris and Elçin finally stepped onto the stage together. The crowd immediately rose to their feet. Some fans cheered loudly. Others wiped tears from their eyes. For several long seconds, the applause simply would not stop. Baris smiled humbly while Elçin placed her hand over her heart in gratitude. They stood side by side beneath the glowing lights, taking in the emotional moment before greeting the audience. "Thank you," Elçin said softly into the microphone. "Thank you for being here tonight." Her voice alone caused another emotional wave through the crowd. Baris looked around the hall carefully, clearly moved by the overwhelming support. "We never imagined," he admitted, "that our journey would connect with so many people around the world." The audience listened silently. Every word mattered tonight. The host invited them to sit in elegant chairs placed at the center of the stage. As the interview began, old memories slowly returned through stories and laughter. They spoke about their first meeting years earlier during a script reading session. Elçin laughed while remembering how serious Baris had looked that day. "You barely smiled," she teased gently. The audience laughed warmly. Baris shook his head with a grin. "I was nervous." "Nervous?" Elçin replied playfully. "You looked like you were preparing for an exam." The crowd burst into laughter again. For a while, the evening felt light and comforting. Fans smiled while listening to their favorite duo share memories that had never been told publicly before. But eventually, the conversation became more emotional. The host paused before asking the question everyone had been waiting for. "When you look back on this incredible journey together, what stays closest to your hearts?" The hall became completely silent. Elçin looked toward Baris briefly before answering first. "The people," she said honestly. "The love we received everywhere we went. That's something I will never forget." The audience applauded gently. Baris nodded slowly. "And the trust," he added. "People believed in our work, supported us, and stayed with us through every chapter." He paused for a moment before continuing. That kind of support changes you forever. The emotional atmosphere deepened. On the giant screen behind them, photographs from fan meetings around the world appeared one after another. Fans cried openly while seeing the memories displayed before them. Then came the moment no one was truly prepared for. The host asked quietly, "What would you like to say to each other tonight?" Even Baris seemed surprised by the question. For a few seconds neither spoke. Then Elcin turned toward him fully. Her eyes shimmered beneath the stage lights. "I want to thank you," she said softly, "for always bringing kindness, respect, and sincerity into every moment we shared professionally." The audience immediately grew emotional again. "You helped create memories that people will carry forever," she continued. "And I will always appreciate that." Baris lowered his head briefly, clearly affected by her words. When he finally responded, his voice sounded quieter than before. "You made every project brighter," he said. "Not only because of your talent, but because of your heart." A few fans in the audience began crying openly. "You gave people happiness," Baris continued gently. "That's rare." Elcin smiled emotionally while the audience applauded once more. At that moment, fans realized this truly was a goodbye to an unforgettable era. Not a dramatic ending, not a painful separation, but the closing of a beautiful chapter that had meant something special to millions. As the lights dimmed slightly, the giant screen displayed one final message. Some stories never truly end. The audience rose to their feet again. And while applause filled the hall like a wave of emotion, Baris and Elcin stood side by side quietly, taking in a moment that neither they nor their fans would ever forget. The applause inside the grand hall continued long after the lights softened across the stage. Fans stood shoulder to shoulder, many holding their phones in the air, trying to capture every final second of the unforgettable evening. Some smiled through tears. Others simply watched silently, afraid that even blinking might cause them to miss something important. At the center of the stage, Baris Arduc and Elcin Sangu remained side by side beneath the warm golden lights. The atmosphere had become deeply emotional, yet peaceful at the same time. For years fans had followed every interview, every appearance, and every project connected to them. Tonight felt less like a celebrity event, and more like saying goodbye to a chapter of life itself. The host slowly returned to the center of the stage, giving the audience a gentle smile. "I think everyone in this room understands," he said softly, "that moments like this are very rare." The crowd applauded again. Behind him, the giant screen began showing more memories. Short clips from award ceremonies, backstage rehearsals, and quiet moments caught by cameras over the years. Some clips showed Baris making the crew laugh between scenes. Others showed Elcin greeting fans warmly outside crowded venues. Every memory felt personal. As the video continued, the audience reacted emotionally to each familiar moment. Laughter echoed through the hall 1 second, followed by complete silence the next. Elcin watched the screen carefully. There was a softness in her expression, almost like she was reliving every memory all over again. Baris folded his hands quietly while watching beside her. Occasionally he smiled when older moments appeared on the screen. Then one particular clip appeared. A behind-the-scenes moment from years ago where both actors had been sitting together during a break between scenes, laughing uncontrollably over a forgotten line. The audience instantly recognized it. Cheers filled the room. Elcin covered her face briefly while laughing. "Oh no," she said jokingly. "Not this clip again." Baris laughed too. "You laughed for 10 minutes that day," he reminded her. "And you made it worse," she replied playfully. The emotional tension in the room eased for a moment as everyone enjoyed the light-hearted memory. But once the video ended, the atmosphere slowly became serious again. The host looked toward them carefully. "There's something fans around the world always admired about both of you," he said. "No matter how successful you became, you always remained respectful and humble." The audience clapped warmly. Baris nodded politely. "We were lucky to receive so much support." Elcin smiled gently. "Very lucky." The host then asked another question. "When you leave tonight, what do you hope fans remember most?" The hall fell silent once again. Elcin thought carefully before answering. "I hope they remember happiness," she said softly. Sometimes life becomes heavy and stressful. If our work gave people comfort even for a short time, then that means everything to me. Many fans immediately became emotional again. Baris listened quietly before speaking. I hope people remember sincerity, he added. We always tried to stay genuine with our work, with interviews, and with the people who supported us. His calm voice echoed through the hall. And honestly, he continued, the fans became part of this journey too. That sentence caused loud applause to erupt across the room. Near the front row, several longtime fans held up glowing signs with messages written in different languages. Thank you. We will never forget. Forever our favorite duo. Elcin noticed them immediately and smiled warmly. One sign in particular caught her attention. It was held by a young woman who appeared to be crying while holding a framed photo from many years ago. Elcin quietly asked the staff if the fan could come closer to the stage. The audience reacted with surprise and excitement. A few moments later, the young fan carefully approached the front of the stage while trembling nervously. Tears filled her eyes as she looked up at Baris and Elcin. I traveled here from another country, she said emotionally. Your work helped me through very difficult years in my life. The hall became completely silent. You gave me hope when I needed it most, she continued. So thank you. For every memory. Elcin's eyes immediately filled with tears. Baris looked deeply moved as well. Without hesitation, both stepped closer to thank her personally. The audience applauded loudly as the emotional fan returned to her seat. For several seconds nobody on stage spoke. The moment had touched everyone in the room. Finally, Baris looked toward the audience again. This, he said quietly, is why tonight matters so much. The crowd erupted into applause once more. As the evening continued, the host announced one final surprise prepared specially for the event. The lights dimmed completely. Soft golden spotlights slowly illuminated the giant screen behind the stage. Then hundreds of fan messages from around the world began appearing one after another. Messages from Turkey, from Spain, from Brazil, from Italy, from the Middle East, from Asia. Every message carried love, gratitude, and appreciation for the years of memories Baris and Elcin had shared with audiences everywhere. Some fans thanked them for inspiring dreams. Others spoke about friendships formed because of their shows. One message read, "Some people act on screen. You made people feel." The audience applauded emotionally after reading it.